Hi, welcome back to another TerranScapes video. Today I wanted to give you a look at a work in progress. Behind me you see some Imperial Sector buildings under construction. A customer has contracted with me to build a few large buildings built with the contents of 2 Imperial Sector boxes. There's a couple associated small pieces that go with it as well. The crash lander from the old Macrage starter set, and TerranScapes piece, which is the crashed Rhino in the trees. I'm not going to cover those today, but they'll be coming up when they get finished down the road. But what I wanted to show you today is the construction that I've done on these buildings so far. I've been working hard not only to build large buildings, give them some dynamic feel, but trying to also incorporate some unique panels and learning some lessons from my previous work on Imperial structures, where people had said that some of my added panels looked a little bland, so I've been working to try to spruce those up. And also add in some more unique elements that I've been inspired to create based on some other work I've seen. If you ever need good ideas, take a look at YouTube. There's a lot of people building these buildings, and there's plenty of great ideas out there. So I've tried to sort of be inspired by a couple of those and add some new features to these buildings, and I wanted to give you a little look and see how they've come along. So here you get a sense of one of the first buildings built. Nothing too out of the ordinary in this back corner, and went for something a little different in the front. I thought it'd be nice to have a nice big balcony in the front, something that's a little bit more has a little more area, I should say, than the ones that are typically built using the actual Imperial Sector pieces. So what I did is take some aluminum siding, kind of styrene sheeting there, glue that to some styrene that's a little bit thicker, and then actually I got this idea for reinforcing it from a friend using some square styrene strips, which gives it a little bit of a nice sturdy interior build. And then inserted one of the double doors with some railing across the top and a little textured styrene for the top here. So that gives you sort of a nice large balcony that many troops can sit up on. And then later what I'd like to do is add some buttresses coming off of this piece. And Templars, I think it's Templars Crusade 1. He has numerous videos. One of the recent ones he put up was on printing out little posters to put on your pieces, and right away I thought this would be a fantastic surface to adorn with propaganda posters, so that's something that'll be coming down the road. But right now, just sort of fleshing out big structure, major concepts for the buildings. The second building, after that one was built, I realized that I really wanted to add in some extra styrene sheeting to give a little more volume to the set, because of course the set has limited amount of pieces in it. So I thought let's add a few so I can get a little bit larger size and add some decorative elements that are a little unique. Try to give it some sense that this is not everybody's normal ordinary Imperial Sector. So what I did is I've been taking pieces from the set, and then this is sort of a double wide panel here, and then using those pieces with some sanding to sort of dress them out. And what's nice about using these pieces to do that is then it helps to tie in some of the the incredibly skull-laden Gothic motif of the other panels. So it ties that together pretty well and doesn't make it look out of place. And then I've also been experimenting. I have a bunch of Pegasus Hobbies, chemicals, factory sprues lying around that I've had for quite a while, and I haven't really been using them for anything, so I wanted to bust out some for these buildings. So what I've done is, just selected a couple pieces here and there, and then dressed it up again with some of the elements from the set, sanded down, trimmed, whatever needed to be to place them onto the piece. And then it really gives it, something where, again, I'm trying to create a little bit more of a detailed feel on the extra panels, because, these are so detail dense, little too much in my opinion, but it's kind of nice to break that up a little bit with some panels. If I had my druthers, I would have centered this panel. I actually didn't expect the building to go this wide when I started building it, and I realized I needed to go a little bit bigger to match the front. So, but that's all right. Who knows? Maybe it's an exhaust port for some internal machinery on the inside that's sitting in the corner of the building. I thought it's all right to have it off center, but I would have preferred it centered, I think. Here you can see another panel on the side. Here again, some Pegasus Hobbies insertion, and then dressed with some of the pieces from the set, some of the buttresses sanded so that they could fit onto the panel flat, and then that way You get sort of the nice decorative element, modeling, of course, some of the archways that you see, but tying in something a little unique. In the interior of the building, what I've been doing for those panels on the inside then is taking some of the flat Pegasus Hobby pieces and just gluing those on. You know, the interior to me doesn't require quite as much detail as the exterior, but I wanted to, you know, carry in some detail on the interior, so that's what I've been doing to fill those, and it makes a relatively quick fill that kind of looks very, you know, actually because the interior of the panels are a lot less detailed, this gives you kind of a nice match to that, so that's what I've been doing on the interior. And then I've been realizing that there's structurally, you know, some of these buildings can have, you know, some walkways that are a little, you know, janky. It's you know, I want it to be relatively sturdy, so I've been gluing in some styrene to show like metal plates that have been laid over maybe broken areas so people could cross it a little more safely. Some I-beams that have been welded in place, tack welded in the battlefield, so to speak, to shore up some of the weaker spots of the building, and it just gives it overall a little bit more structural integrity and kind of gives it a little bit more of like an impromptu battlefield look. There'll be more of those elements added later on, and, you know, of course, rubble and whatnot. So, you know, we're really just looking at the skeleton of the building at this point. For the front of that building, I decided I wanted something unique that I've never tried before. So what I did, let's pan up here, is I've gone for a taller structure. Now, I haven't fully decided how I'm going to leave the very, very top of this building. Obviously, I'm not going to leave it flat across the top like this. I might decide that this is going to be the top floor here and tear down some of this, break this off, and use that in the rubble pile surrounding the building, because I don't think I have enough pieces to construct a full-size floor above this ruined. And my original thought actually was to build some kind of a ceiling that had yet to collapse across these two that would be held in place by magnets, so you could land like a heavy flyer, say, you know, some of the newer, larger GW flyers. It'd be great to have a landing spot for them on top, but I don't think I can believably construct that, as if the entire interior of the building is missing, what the hell's holding up the ceiling, you know? So I've thought about support columns. I'm still playing around with some ideas in my mind, but I don't think that's the direction I'm going to go. But in any case, so setting aside the very top of this building for just a little bit, you know, put in a balcony, put in another unique double wall panel, something, again, that, you know, I thought maybe this could be like almost like the clock to the next execution coming up from the administratum, whatever. But in any case, something a little bit different. You know, put in some, let's see if I can get those in there. On here, I don't know if they'll show. Maybe. These are some little hex bolts that I bought a ways back, and to be honest, I can't even remember where I got them from, so I'll have to investigate that when I run out, but I've got quite a few. And they're great little precast hex bolts. You just snap them off the sprue and glue them in place. Great way to sort of dress that up, make it look like it's been bolted in place without a lot of work of trying to, you know, sculpt out rivets or something like that. And then down below, you know, a couple more panels, again, you know, trying to increase the density of detail on them so they match the building a little bit more overall. And then, instead of doing anything below this or making a balcony, I wanted to make a staircase, and so this is the staircase that I made. I really like the way this staircase came out. It took quite a while to problem solve and build, as I really had to take into account several things, not only how it's going to meet the building, I wanted it to have a nice tight fit, and oftentimes these kinds of low cuts on these panels can really interfere with other things butting up against it. It's a constant problem. Well, I should be in frame here. It's a constant problem when you're trying to do these kinds of balconies, as they never really match against the floor because of like these little lights at the bottom of the door, things like that. It requires some trim work to get it to fit tightly. So I really wanted this to have a nice, tight, snug fit, and actually, I thought about putting magnets in to hold it, but I realized that once it snugs in, it gives a really nice seam, and it's actually pretty resilient to motion, so I decided it probably won't need magnets. And then for the stairs, I've used the railings to dress up the sides of it a little bit. I decided to leave it open in the underside here. I thought about filling that in, and I decided at the last minute to leave that open. But instead, I've boxed in these because this is an area that I don't want really to be seen, because it's not going to be interior painted-wise. And I wanted to also hide that big blank panel in the back there. So I just sort of, you know, put in some tread plate that's been welded in place, so to speak. on both sides here to block that visual up. Put a couple larger plates on the inside just to add a little bit more obscurity to it. And put in some of that aluminum siding against this side here to flesh out that back wall. And for the stairs, you know, the biggest trick with the stairs, this is of course some styrene sheeting over foam core, and then I did a little granny grading dressing on the front of each stair. And I thought that really was nice, really adds, this is going to look fantastic when it's painted up, you know, gives it sort of like an open grading feel, and hides the edge of the foam core really well. So that was, I thought, a great way to sort of solve that foam core problem. Because foam core, I don't really like working with foam core. It's, you know, it often has messy edges, it's hard to cut, but it worked well for the stairs, and it was a material that I had at hand to build up the stairs, and it gave me the right thickness. The trick, of course, is doing the math so that you have the right length of the stairs so they don't stick out way out past the end of the walkway or come up really short, and that they transcend the height properly as well. So there's a ratio there to the width and to the height of each stair to do that. So that took a little bit of math and problem solving to make sure I had the right number. And then when I glued them in place, it came out just the way I wanted, so that it would come out just a little short of those posts and looks like a nice recessed stairway. Really like this stairway. I'm going to leave it separate because shipping this kind of a building all together with this attached is going to be a nightmare. I'm already trying to think ahead about how this is going to be based and shipped, but I'm not letting shipping or basing interfere with my creativity. I want to just roll with the project and come up with the most unique and interesting designs I can and really expand on the work that I've done in the past. So once I do that major work, then I'll problem solve the second stage. Is that the smartest way to go? I don't know, but I can't think about everything all at once, so this is kind of how I'm tackling the project. Again, just to show you the interior of this side. So again, more of those flat styrene panels there, the Pegasus Hobby stuff to block up that. And then some, oh, that reminds me actually, we can talk about this in a second. And I used some, there they are. I used some different ones at the bottom, really like these. I don't have a ton of them, but I thought I'd put a couple in there as they give it kind of a unique tech feel without being, you know, too over the top. And lastly, before I leave this, I wanted to mention, you know, I've learned a little bit about adhesives. You may have noticed that piece just popped right off there when I bumped it. I'll fix that later. About halfway through the project, started to run out of the plastic cement I normally use. When I'm working with something like this, I use plastic weld. Now, there are a variety of products out here that are very similar to this, but the idea, you know, it has a brush applicator. The idea is that you can brush that on, and then it actually melts the plastic, just the way any other plastic cement does, and then when it cures, they become one part. Nice thing about this is because it's very, very thin viscosity, it flows into cracks and crevices a lot easier than, say, the typical tube of plastic cement. So, really been enjoying this, and even more so, recently picked up Testers Model Master liquid cement. This applicator tip is the bomb. Really, really, really like that. And it's such a fantastic system. My hope is that once I run out of this, because this applicator bottle is about 3 times expensive per volume as my plastic, that I can refill this bottle just to keep that applicator tip. Love this. In any case, what I found though when I ran out is I started to use a little super glue to, you know, kind of intermix some adhesive joins, and super glue really is not anywhere near strong enough to make bonds with this kind of material. So I've gone over all the spots pretty much that I've super glued in anywhere. I haven't done a full check again, but anywhere where I see some weak spots that need a little reinforcing, I can just run over it with the plastic cement, and it'll just flow into the cracks and it'll totally seal them up. But definitely the right adhesive for this project is key. Very important. So that gives you a little look at some of the work in progress. There's at least one more large superstructure to build, which will be the manufactorum section of the sprues. And I have a lot of plans for doing some major additions to that, of course, because I have all those Pegasus Hobby chemical bits. If you haven't looked at those kits, they're worth a look at. So I'd like to add in some vessel reactors and all sorts of stuff inside that building, and I've been looking at some ways to bulk that out again, trying to really push a little bit more in the direction of a little more free-form construction than some of the traditional, you know, build out of the box work that I've done with these in the past. And And if you see updates to the YouTube channel be a little sporadic over the next several weeks, couple months, it's because the summer is a crazy time for me, and I feel really pulled out of the shop at odd hours. And so today it's Saturday, the missus is out for the day, the cats are out for the day, so I've got the time to shoot these videos and sit down and do that. But it's been a little bit sporadic for me lately, so don't despair if there's a little delay between postings. It's only because it's summertime, and I'll get back to some regular scheduling a little bit later on. But I do have some more videos to come up really soon, so keep your eye on the channel for those. And hopefully you've enjoyed this one, and please feel free to leave comments down below. Always happy to take a look at those and answer questions. Thanks.